How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, do me a huge favor and go down, subscribe before we get into the video. If you guys missed the last video, we did a little bit of a garage tour / update of all 5 of the cars. In that video, I talked about an issue I was having with this one. And kind of mentioned it briefly and said we talk about in the next video. Well, let's talk about what issues I'm having with my Lexus. If you guys have been watching since last year, you might recall my Lexus didn't have heat during the winter time, and that was a big problem because in Wisconsin it is very cold and living without heat is like torture. But got away with it last year, couldn't get away with it this year, so I had it checked out. But if you also remember from last year, I got a oil change from Toyota, and they did like a full inspection on the car, brought up a couple of things that might need to be replaced, and one of those things was the water pump. So something happened with the water pump. We're having a little bit of an issue with it. Toyota told me there was going to be something wrong with it. They quoted me about $900 for the water pump, and the water pump's leaking. It's spilling coolant everywhere across my garage, which is the reason why the heat's not working, because if there's not enough coolant, it needs to cool the motor, but it also can't go through the heater core. Right now the heat's working because you can just top the coolant off, but at one point the water pump will have to be fixed. The pump itself costs between $300 and $400. Labor, even from an individual private mechanic, costs about $700 for everything said and done. I think I want to replace it myself because I think I can pull it off, but I just don't have the time, and also I just don't want to be working on this car right now, so I'm going to just continue to fill it up and top it off with coolant for the time being. The heat does work now, but it is dripping coolant, which is never a good thing. At one point, it's going to start dripping or spewing coolant, and it'll get to the point where I need to replace it. So before we get to that point, but maybe pulling it off as long as I can, I need to replace this water pump. And it's a very expensive fix. It's not cheap, but I'll show you guys where the pump sits, and maybe we can spot a leak as well. It's like we have a new issue every couple of months. I think once I kind of get some of these things taken care of, it's going to be pretty bulletproof, knock on wood, but that's what I'm hoping for. But the water pump sits underneath all of this. So the water pump sits here, I believe this unit right here on top is the pump, but it is a pretty labor intensive job because all of this has to come off. As far as where the leak is, I am not sure where it's leaking from. I'm sure it's leaking from the bottom side where we cannot see, but that is the culprit of a very, very expensive job on this car. I haven't really heard of water pumps going bad in these cars, but maybe it's just something that happened when it sat. I don't know. I don't know why it went bad, but it's something that has to be replaced. Along with that, since we're talking about some of the issues, the heat works now with the new coolant, but taking a step inside, some of these dash cracks are starting to get really long. This crack starts here, goes all the way up from here. There's a crack starting all the way up here that comes all the way down. This crack goes all the way, this crack goes all the way, and now there's this crack here as well. I think once I took this screen out for the Apple CarPlay system, it kind of made the process go a little faster. Given the dash wasn't in good condition before I started messing with it a little bit. So in the couple of months that I installed that Apple CarPlay system, it has really started to crack up. I guess we'll see in the next couple of months. I mean, it's been cold as well, so it's not only because I messed with it. It's a big problem in these cars. If you don't know, the dashes like to crack, and they're not really cheap. They're like $4,000 to get it installed from the dealership. I don't know how much a private person would cost. I don't know how much the dash costs either. I think it's like $600 or $700 for the dash. Don't quote me on that at all. That's what I'm trying to remember back to. I know it was under $1,000 from what I remember. Other than that, that's kind of the only two things other than the TPMS lights. Of course, I installed aftermarket wheels, and to this day still have not put TPMS sensors in the wheels, so the car goes haywire, and the whole dash lights up like a Christmas tree because it's missing the sensors. So hopefully soon we'll get this fixed, but it's a very annoying thing, and I thought I had to bring it up, that the fact that the water pump is, it's getting worse and worse every single week or month that goes by, a couple of months that goes by, and it's leaking, and that was the cause of the heat issue because I hadn't updated you guys on the fix for the heat issue since last year because I never looked into it until recently, but that is what's going on with the Lexus. Kind of just a short little update video, but I thought it was necessary because I know people ask about the car, what's happening with it, and I thought since an issue had occurred, it would be the perfect time to kind of go through some of the things that it needs and kind of remind you guys of what's going on with the car and some of the new stuff that I found. But do me a huge favor and leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos, and I will see you guys in the next video.